Dr. Janice Woodwestel. Good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed scholars, students, and champions of social justice. It is with great pleasure that I, Elizabeth Sujita, second year from Department of Social Work Self-Finance, and Harini V from second year Department of Social Work Aided, extend a warm welcome to each one of you to the National Conference on Social Work for Sustainable Transformative Change and Social Justice.
Without further ado, let us all rise up and begin our program with the melodious rendition of Tamil Thai Varthu, followed by a college song.
நீராறும் கடலொடுத்த நிலமடந்த கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டமிது தெக்கணமும் அது சிறந்த திராவிடன திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திரும்பி எந்த செயல் மறந்த வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே.
Thank you. I now invite Dr. K. Satyamurthy, Head of the Department of Social Work, to welcome the gathering.
Very good morning to one all present here. It's my great pleasure in the very important event of the National Conference on Social Work for Sustainable Development, Sustainable Transformative Social Change and Social Justice. Conference which is organized year after year. Last year we organized international conference on the social development, social equity. This year we are organizing the sustainability, how we are going to do the indigenous practices in India, sustainable social practices. we document it and we'll be able to have a kind of practice in India. So in this juncture, I would like to welcome the very great person who is the chief guest and will deliver the keynote address of this today's conference. Dr. R.K. Radhakrishnan sir is a senior associate editor, Frontline, and is working very rigorously in the field with a lot of communities, especially in the tribals and the wandering communities, and is instrumental in delivering the keynote address today's context. We welcome you on behalf of our institution. And great pleasure to welcome our own chairman, Thiru K. Matthew sir, who is very important person in our institution and made several changes in the academic as well as the infrastructure development. We are very fortunate to have a kind of leadership. We welcome you, sir, to deliver the President's letters today. And very dynamic in nature. Whatever we do, whatever we are successful in our work, there is a person always behind us for our activity. Whenever we do some activity, he is instrumental of making this activity a successful one. A great person in my life. I have seen Dr. S. Raja Samuel sir, very dynamic, our principal, and will be giving you the overview of the conference and very instrumental of making this, shaping this conference to this level. Thank you, sir, and we welcome you, sir. And we have our own fortunate motherly dean, Dr. A.R. Subhashini ma'am, who is very fortunate to have dean of our college, and whatever we do, a lot of development happened under the leadership of Dr. R. Subhashini ma'am, and ma'am will be felicitating the conference today. And we have a great person and very instrumental, a very good academician, and coming over for doing some kind of field-based practices in terms of creating social justice to the community. A director of Center for Social Justice and Equity, we have Dr. Palavandi Vembulu sir, who is a professor and now is the director and taking care of this center, which is one of the landmark for this institution. No, for 70 years we have a center called Social Justice Center, which is creating equity among the community, especially on the tribal community. Sir will be felicitating this conference, sir. And this conference is also in collaboration with this center, the Center for Social Justice and Equity. And behind all this today's scene, there's a person always working very hard and making this kind of conference is a great one. And we have Dr. J. Jamin Queen ma'am, who is a convener and the program head and Department of Social Work. We welcome you. And also the program head, Dr. A. Thirumagal ma'am, for this conference. And we have several of the people. To put it very small nutshell, there are 120 people, 120 experts have submitted a paper and they are going to present the paper today, and we have almost 180 participants pan-India from academic and as well as the field practitioners and NGOs from various parts of country, and we have our own students and instrumental of making this conference. Our students are very fond of making that தமிழுடைய விருந்தோம்பலுக்கு ஒரு உதாரணமான நம்மளுடைய மாணவர்கள் அனைவரும் இந்த கான்ஃபரன்ஸ் ரொம்ப சக்ஸஸ்ஃபுல்லாக நடத்துறதுக்கு இந்த மாணவர்கள், தி ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் ஆர் வெரி இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்டல், அண்ட் we call in Tamil விருந்தோம்பல். We are instrumental of this விருந்தோம்பல், all these conferences. I welcome all the students, all the delegates, all the participants, especially the news, media and others. We welcome you on behalf of the department and the college. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for extending your heartfelt welcome. I kindly request Dr. S. Raja Samuel, Principal of Madras School of Social Work, to deliver an overview of the conference and its objectives.
Esteemed guests on the stage, guests on the audience, faculty members, speakers in subsequent sessions, and dear students, when we were working on this conference theme, we were looking at what is the contemporary issues that are to be tackled by social work. Social work has been there for the almost last 2 centuries, and over the years its nature has changed and evolved according to the needs of the society, because social work itself in India evolved based on the industrialization and the needs coming out of it. So we were looking at what are the contemporary issues that we can address, and we boiled down to these three basic words, what we see in the conference title, which is sustainable transformative change and social justice. Sustainability is one word which has been the buzz for the last 3 decades. Uh, when we write proposals for funding, there's always a paragraph on sustainability we add. So from that point onwards, but in terms of current issues, particularly in the environment, I think the word sustainability gains a lot of importance, and that was one area. Now, because of human activity, there's a lot of impact on the climate change, and social work for climate change, social work and climate change, what social workers need to respond to in terms of climate change. That was a group of issues that we were looking at, and in fact, there's a lot of work writing that has been going on in the last 20 years on climate change and social work. In that, there's a lot of focus on the impact of climate change on mental health of people, because the disconnect that is happening between somebody and the environment, and the horror to which somebody is watching, and when they are watching, the environment is changing around them, particularly the elderly in communities and so on. So these are some of the focus areas, and not only that, there's also what Naomi Klein also wrote in a book, Disaster Capitalism, which means there are also people who make money out of disasters or any changes in the climate and so on. So there's a group of issues that will probably we want to address on. And of course, another issue is, of course, the transformative change, which is always, the change is what is constant, but are we able to change and adapt according to the newer situations? Social work was started with a focus on marginalized. That's why the International Social Work Definition 2014, most of us will know, focused on social justice, human rights, diversity in communities, and so on. So those are also important for us because there are newer issues that are coming up. For instance, even among the working class, we have this platform workers and gig workers, which are a focus, and even the government of Tamil Nadu wants to bring out a policy on platform workers. One or two states already have brought it, but Tamil Nadu is now seriously considering that. So there's a renewed interest in that. And how does social work respond to these kind of emerging challenges, particularly focusing from the social justice perspective? Incidentally, we also have a Center for Social Justice, which is supported by the Department of Adi Dravida and Tribal Welfare of Tamil Nadu Department, which focuses exclusively on social justice for communities that have been deprived of it for a long time. All these were working, and we put together that, and I appreciate the team headed by Dr. Satyamurthy and convener Dr. Damon Queen, who, and all, of course, ably supported by all the faculty who have put together this theme and, of course, sent out. But it's going to be much more enriched by the contributions from those who have written papers and those who have presented, and all the faculty members and experts who have come to handle the various sessions in this. So I think all of that is going to enrich this seminar, and I'm sure we'll be able to deliberate in this 1.5 days very clearly on all the factors, the contemporary factors that are going to impinge on our social work practice. And I'm sure we'll go out as rich with knowledge, rich with understanding, and with a renewed commitment for transformation and social justice. So with this, I congratulate those who coined this, those who designed this entire conference theme, and also those who have volunteered to speak and those who volunteered to participate. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you, sir. I would now invite Thiru K.A. Matthew, IAS retired, Chairman of Madras School of Social Work, to deliver the presidential address.
Mr. Radhakrishnan, my dear friends on the stage and off the stage. That doesn't mean that Mr. Radhakrishnan is not a friend, but a special mention. Dr. Raja Samuel was saying social work is only 2 centuries old. I don't think so. Social Work is always associated with social change. And social change has been happening all across. If you look at the history of human development, social change is happening. And social work is the catalyst for social change. It is because of social workers that the change takes place mainly. The other day, I was chatting with a friend of mine who was ambassador to Greece. You see, when we write the examination, the first few, say 10 to 15 people, they go to foreign service. The next 70 to 80 people go to administrative service. And the next 50 people go into police service. And then there are a whole lot of other central services like customs, revenue, audit and accounts, ordnance factory, etc., etc. So these first 15, they are, during the period of training, they are given a second language to study. Some of the people will be learning Mandarin, some of them will be learning French. So there is an indication that Mandarin people will definitely go into China and related areas. And French learning group will definitely go into not only France, but France had colonized a lot of countries in Africa. They are destined to go to there for their first posting. That's a general indication. So my friend, who was ambassador to, ambassadors have a lot of time, unlike the IAS people. We generally pull their leg like that because if you get posted to a small country in Europe or a desolate country in Africa, there is not much of work per se, but you have plenty of time if you want to study the geography, culture, mythology, the people and whatnot. That way, every ambassador will be an expert of the area where they are posted. So looking at the history of human development, where social work is an integral part of that, we were chatting and he was saying that, and I tend to agree with them, I'll share the gist of the conversation that we had on that. If you look at the history of human development, the Greek contribution, especially in the initial years, is tremendous. It put the bedrock of our philosophy. You have Socrates, you have Plato, you have Aristotle. Aristotle's Poetics and Plato's Republic is still being studied, discussed. And apart from philosophy, their contribution was a vague science called alchemy. That's the precursor of chemistry of today. Alchemy mainly deals with converting base metal into gold. They believed that you can convert the base metal into gold by chemical application. They also, they had reasons to believe so. You see, you have studied in chemistry classes that 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of water, about molecule of oxygen will form water, H2O. If you take 2 molecules of hydrogen and 2 molecules of oxygen, it will become hydrogen peroxide. One molecule and one molecule of hydrogen, 1 molecule of chlorine in an aqueous solution will become hydrochloric acid. So it's very interesting. So they tried to convert, they believed that metals can also be converted like that into new metals. But that shows their spirit of inquiry. Forget about the failures or the things that they did. But that spirit of inquiry behind that science was the contribution of the Greeks. Then again, if you look at, they thought longevity was another concern of them. So in those days, people's life expectancy was between 30 and 40 years. In fact, Alexander the Great, the Macedonian king who came all the way to India, died at the age of 33. When we became independent, our average age was in the 40s. Now, of course, it is 70s, 72 or so. But I am told COVID across the world has, because that's an average, has brought it down by about 2 digits. So maybe about 68 or so if the world average, if I'm not wrong. The point here is they had the spirit of inquiry. They wanted to find the alchemy again. They wanted to find a panacea. The word panacea comes from, it's a Greek contribution. Panacea means one medicine for all diseases. Now we use that word as a single solution to many problems. So these are the contributions of the Greek civilization. Why do I talk about this? Their greatest contribution was the concept of democracy. Democracy originated first in Greece, followed by Rome. Now, you see, in political science, you learn there are 5 forms of government. You have monarchy, you have oligarchy, you have democracy, then you have republic, and then you have anarchy. Now, the monarchy is, as you know, is a single person. It can deteriorate into autocracy. Oligarchy is by a group, and democracy is by people. What's the difference between democracy and republic? Republic, the prime place is occupied by the rule of law, the constitution, not the people. You see, in Rome they had democracy, in Greek they had democracy, but they had no law. The people decided. The majority of the people decide that he has to be executed, he will be executed. If we want one Caesar, yes, we will elect another Caesar. That was the public was the center. But rule of law, for example, if we have a prime minister, he needs to step down as per rule at the 5th year. If you have a US president, on the 4th year he needs to step down, which means law is supreme. So that's the difference between a republic and democracy. Now, none of these things apply in anarchy. Anarchy, nobody is in charge. But its very nature, it's short-lived because society cannot survive. Society will cease to exist if anarchy lasts for a long time. Now, that being the case, in the Republic of Plato, he divides the community into three sets of people. Any society will have 3 levels of people. One, the basic level they call idiots. Idiot is not in the dictionary meaning. It means self-centered people who don't care for others. I, me, and myself. The typical selfish, self-centered person. A great percentage of any society will be of that category. Then you got another category called tribal people. That is, people with the mentality of a tribe. What is the tribal mentality? You owe allegiance to, you are ready to give your life to a group. You listen to the chief only. That is the tribal chief, whoever is the party leader, whoever is the religious leader, who listens to him. And anything other than your tribe, somebody who doesn't belong to your society, somebody who doesn't speak your lingo, who doesn't look like you, who observes some other religion, makes you uncomfortable, makes you insecure, makes you, you don't know how to deal with it. You know only one way to deal with it, by distrust, by violence, by intimidation. That is a tribal makeup. These 2 sectors of society, we need to convert them into the 3rd category called citizen. Citizen is not a legal status. Citizen is somebody who knows about his rights and responsibilities, who is also aware of the rights and responsibilities of the other person. And he settles the scores amicably by sitting down, by argument, not by violence, not by war. So the social change that should happen in the world is to convert these two categories of the idiots and the tribals into citizens. Then only a society will survive, a society will improve. And all our efforts, whether it be NGOs, whether it be teachers, whether it be social workers, whomsoever be, to be a responsible citizen and to convert these so-called rocks into diamonds. So that is the process that we are at. And I'm very happy that the Department of Social Work has organized this national conference, something which happens every year. And this process, as the alchemist failed, you may not succeed, you may fail. Failure is never call it a failure. Failure is only an indication that life is asking you to change your direction. The students should know, because you may fall in love, there may be some difficulties, but life doesn't end there. If a river is blocked, what happens? It flows in some other direction. So failure, you are familiar, again we were discussing, when I discussed with my friend, the mythology of Greek. There is, you have heard of the legend of Icarus. You see, Daedalus and Icarus, son and father. Daedalus was an architect, a builder, a inventor par excellence. He's the one who designed the labyrinth in the island of Crete. You know, Greek is actually the mainland surrounded by a few islands. You have the island of Crete, you have the island of Santorini, then you got this island of Rhodes, a whole lot of islands, some of them without even names, uninhabited. So the king of Athens and the king of Crete had a war. And the king of Athens, Theseus, was put in the labyrinths when he lost the war. But the king escaped from the labyrinths. So the king of Crete thought that the Daedalus who designed this has let out the secret to the other king. That is how he escaped. Then what he did was, there was a prison tower in one of the uninhabited islands. Both Daedalus and Icarus were sent there as prisoners. But the Daedalus, the supreme artist, the supreme inventor, he looked around, he found that, this is a lonely place. Only the birds, the seabirds come and make their nest there. There's a lot of feathers are around. He collected all the feathers. They were given a couple of blankets. Aegean Sea in the night is very cold. So they were given some blankets. He took out the thread from those blankets, used his own clothes, and there were some beehives around, because it's an island where the flowering season is on, the bees are there. So he put beeswax and made 2 wings and told his son Icarus that you are going to fly, and told him, you are in the sea. When you fly, see that you don't fly low, so that the spray from the ocean will hold up your feathers, because these are not organic, these are not lively feathers, it's all dead feathers. It will bring you down. And don't fly high, because if you go near the sun, what will happen? The beeswax will melt and you are likely to fall into the sea. But Icarus is young, he is wild, and he's been confined in a cellar in a tower, and once he starts flying, he tastes freedom, he goes up and up, and then, as you know, the Icarus legend, the beeswax melts and he falls. That's a failure. But in our life, in our systems, failure is not classified as absolute failure. Failure is only like a river being blocked, life telling you to take a different direction. So please, in this effort of alchemy, you will come across failures. You will come across roadblocks. But then all of us are alchemists. We keep on working on it. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for imparting your knowledge. We look up to you. I now invite Dr. J. Damon Queen, the Program Head of Department of Social Work Self-Financed, to provide an overview of the Book of Abstracts.
Good morning, esteemed guests and participants. It is my profound honor to give the overview about the Book of Abstract and the thematic areas. The Book of Abstract covers a broad spectrum of topics like human rights, social justice, climate change, gender justice, disability, inclusion, mental health and resilience, sustainability, organization change and development, green HR, and ESG. Today, on this remarkable occasion, we are releasing a book of abstract, a compilation of collective knowledge on theoretical and evidence-based practices, which will be presented tomorrow. We have received a total of 188 abstract, out of which 147 have sent the full paper, representing 36 organizations, including 29 social work colleges and 7 organizations from Pan-India. And our scientific committee has closely examined and selected 114 abstract for presentation. And these numbers shows the spirit and enthusiasm of scholars, students, academicians, and field experts. This book is not just a publication. We feel it is a manifesto of a shared commitment, and I believe this will serve as a tool for education, a medium of spreading ideas, and most importantly, a call for an action. I place on record thanking the design and editing team, including myself, Professor Jasmine John Bose, Professor Moses, and the student team, Mr. Moses, Ms. Grace, Ms. Sujita, and Ms. Neeraja. I want to express my deepest gratitude for your work, and remember, your work is the fuel for transformative change. Now I request our Honorable Chairman, Mr. K. A. Matthew, IAS retired, to do the honors of releasing the Book of Abstract. And I request our Chief Guest, Dr. R. K. Radhakrishnan, Senior Associate Editor, Frontline, to receive the first copy.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to introduce our esteemed chief guest, Dr. R. K. Radhakrishnan, Senior Associate Editor of Frontline. Dr. R. K. Radhakrishnan is a prominent journalist with expertise in South Asian politics and governance, particularly focusing on India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Sir is renowned for his incisive analysis and reporting on refugee integration, and has passionately championed over 3 decades. Aside from his journalistic endeavors, Sir has made significant contribution to academia, co-authoring multiple papers on refugee issues and pursuing a PhD. Sir's dedication to political reporting has earned him the prestigious Red Ink Media Award. Having served as a foreign correspondent for The Hindu in Sri Lanka, Sir is deeply familiar with the region's socio-political landscape. Sir's leadership as the President of Foreign Correspondent Association Sri Lanka underscores his commitment to journalistic integrity and press freedom. Beyond journalism, Sir actively advocates for migrant labor rights, as demonstrated by his role as a PANOS South Asia Media Fellow. Sir's foray into acting in the acclaimed movie Lens also showcases his versatility and creative flair. As a sought-after expert on national and regional news television, Sir continues to provide nuanced insights into South Asian issues, enriching public discourse. In his capacity as senior associate at Frontline magazine, Sir remains dedicated to driving meaningful conversation and shaping narratives that resonate across the region. Now I request Sir to share his valuable perspectives for this conference.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, much of which I don't deserve, but that's fine. Professor Satimurthy, Professor Raja Samuel, Mr. K. A. Matthew, Dr. Diamond Queen, Dr. Subhashini, Dr. Pavananthi, my old friend from Madurai Kamaraj, Dr. Thirumagal Rajam, and friends. It gives me immense pleasure to be here at the National Conference on Social Work for Sustainable, Transformative Change and Social Justice, organized by the Department of Social Work and Center for Social Justice and Equity. I thank MSSW and the Department of Social Work for inviting me here as a chief guest, because though I don't study here, I have many memories around this institution, starting with my association and admiration for Professor K.N. George. I also note with great happiness that MSSW has always welcomed alumni who had set up NGOs and has always been helpful to them, whether it's a question of hosting an event or seeking guidance. My friends tell me that the institution is in able hands now and does not hesitate to chart new paths and create new paradigms where necessary. This is truly the way the founder, Mary Klapwala Jadhav, would have wanted this institution to grow. I have to also mention here that without mentioning the name of an institution, I need to say that it was during the time of the Great Depression that the first thought of setting up a school of social work came into India, and that was guided, according to my very great friend Professor Parasuraman, the need to keep the unrest at a manageable level, because there was not enough food to eat, and social work in India was born as a result. But look at this woman here, Mary Klapwala Jadhav, and I hope you all have at least a foundation course on her and what she did, what she accomplished. This was in 1952. She, at the age of 44, incidentally, M.K. Stalin also at the age of 44 becomes the mayor of Chennai. So only similarity, I guess. But in any case, she set up the school, and she is somebody who never went by any of the norms that society had set for a woman in 1952 sets up a school of social work. I can't even think to imagine. I mean, like, this is the kind of state this is the kind of city this is. We have also one of the first women medical practitioner in India was from the Madras Medical College. So that is the kind of women that we've had at one point of time, and I'm sure that most of you women also will grow up and become the kind of women that, flaunting your freedoms, helping society, and transforming lives. That is the kind of women that Mary Klapwala Jadhav was. Many from Jayalalitha onwards, there are enough and more people in history, Muthulakshmi Reddy onwards. So Dr. Shanta, so many names that come to your, the tip of your tongue in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai, is because of their contribution to society, not because they wrote poetry or prose or something else. I'm not in any way demeaning any of those pursuits. Of course, they're all noble pursuits. Now, I want to start from where Mr. Matthew left off, and want to come to the India of today and note today that India is at a very big crossroads. A conversation which should have taken place in the founding times of our republic is happening right now. This is whether India should remain a secular nation, accommodating all the diverse views and the cacophony that accompany a truly plural, secular, and inclusive nation, or should we become a nation where one religion is state religion and all the others are allowed to exist as second-class citizens? This conversation is extremely important for all Indian citizens to get involved in, and of course for you social workers who are at the forefront of transformation of society. And this calls for a consistent dialogue. Sometimes this conversation is often violent, as we have seen in many parts of the country, including but not limited to the periodic lynchings for one reason or the other, as well as riots like what we saw in Delhi in 2020. So what happened in 1947 which prevented a dialogue? Simply put, it was just two names, Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. The force of these two personalities, the kind of love, respect, admiration that these two leaders commanded, left no room for regressive actions. You might wonder if these were flawless individuals. No, they were not. I'm very sure that social media is full of Gandhi's fallibilities and what he did and all of that. Let me also add to that list. Gandhi was a bundle of contradictions. Yes, Gandhi believed in that the purity of villages would be destroyed if, as the British were building their trains and letting them run from point A to point B, Bombay to Thane, for instance, and later on further down. Gandhi believed that the purity of villages will be destroyed. But at the same time, Gandhi was the guy who actually used both railway stations and train to a great deal to travel across the country. He was one of the most traveled persons in India at that point of time. He used the railway network during the Salt Satyagraha as well. And at every point, whenever he addressed a crowd, it was always close to his railway station, because he was very insistent that the media which is covering it should be able to use the railway station or the train from there to get back the news into Bombay and then publish it, so that the larger section of people come to know as to what was happening. And radio was also beginning at that point of time, and it was not very well established, but then radio was pretty much there in the big cities. If you look at, again, Gandhi's idea of village purity is actually a very fallible one as well. I don't know how many of you have heard of this name, A. Raja. He used to be a union minister for telecom and was later in jail. But you should listen to his Tamil speeches, where he is a fantastic orator, and he's from the scheduled caste community. And he once, when he was addressing a meeting like this, he says, in a hall like this, we will not be able to say who belongs to which caste, because all of you are sitting next to each other, and it doesn't matter who comes from where. This is a city in any case, and it doesn't matter where you stay, where you come from. But you go back to a village, there are specific streets beyond which you cannot actually move, venture. There is a colony for the Dalit. There is a Nadar Theru. There is a Chettiar Theru. There is there is an Agraharam. So village is not actually the pure thing that Gandhi had imagined, but then I would add and say one of his fallibilities. But there were many fallibilities. Gandhi didn't believe in allopathic medicine. He preferred that people go to traditional forms of medicine, but at the same time, when he had appendicitis, he actually went to a allopathic doctor and whatnot. These are all Gandhi's fallibilities. Let us accept all of that. But what did Gandhi stand for? What did Gandhi do? That is more important than these small fallibilities of eminent personalities. So let me just go with just two of the things that he did. One was, of course, the Dandi March, which I mentioned, Salt Satyagraha. In fact, when he talked about this in one of the Congress party meetings, people were not impressed. Salt, what is this? What is this salt thing? Shouldn't an agitation be centered around something bigger, something that is catchy and whatnot? And these were the same people who belonged to one particular strata of society, from where, if you look at issues, a salt might seem to be extremely something that you can look down upon. But Gandhi knew the importance of salt. Gandhi knew that if he did not involve an issue which did not touch every single human being on an everyday basis, there is no point to that struggle, because you cannot say or bring this concept of freedom. What is freedom? In fact, Shailaja teacher, in one of her lectures, had pointed this out when the former communist leader A.K. Gopalan asked people during a meeting, they always do people outreach. The communists, the CPI at that point of the Communist Party of India, it has not split and become the Communist Party of India, Marxist, and the CPI had asked a group of people, don't you want freedom? And people said, no, we don't want freedom. I'm just going back to that era to make you understand what freedom was or wasn't at that point of time. People didn't want freedom. Then they asked, AKG, what is freedom? And then AKG explains to them that there will come a time when you will be able to afford 2 square meals a day, when you will be able to send your children to school, when you will be able to finish your work and demand wages which is consummate with those. And then they said, oh, in that case, we also want freedom. And that is the kind of freedom that it is impossible to explain to a large number of people the concept of freedom. And that is exactly what we are struggling with today with the concept of Hindutva. When when you think that, when you are told that the Ram temple is the epitome of all achievements of this nation. So that is the kind of freedom that Gandhi epitomized when he picked up a handful of salt to tell the people of India that this is your right. You don't need to pay a tax to consume salt. And that is exactly the person who could actually take an entire agitation, capture the imagination of the masses, and then lead them on to a struggle. Champaran Satyagraha again 1919, asking for wages, for farmers' produce. Actually, the same thing that is happening in Haryana and Punjab today, where farmers are demanding fair price for their produce. Exact same thing Gandhi did in 1919 in Champaran Satyagraha. Again, an issue affecting the masses. And at that point of time also, the predominant or narrative was that whoever wants to buy, the middleman or whoever, will give a price which he wants to give. Gandhi stood against that. Gandhi fought against that. These are the important things, in mass struggles, it's extremely important to frame the question right, to explain the question right. Nehru, again, flawed individual in many ways. You would be seeing a lot of things on TikTok and, not TikTok any longer, on Insta and other places about how bad Nehru was. And of course, we have a prime minister who cannot stop talking about Nehru. Again, I can also tell you, I don't know how many of you have seen this Abhinav Chandrachud's video on the Citizenship Amendment Act itself, how it had extremely flawed beginnings. To go back in time again, 1st of March 1947 is when people start killing each other over the India, Pakistan and all of that. Muslim Hindu riots take place, and a lot of Hindus came to India, a lot of Muslims went to Pakistan at that point of time. This is West Pakistan we are talking about at that point of time. So the incongruence at that point of time is that people who came to India, basically Hindus and Sikhs, were considered as displaced persons, and people who went to Pakistan, largely Muslims, were considered as evacuees. Now, the problem with this terminology is that the displaced persons, when they came to India, were given the houses, kotis, and the land that belonged to the Muslims who had left India and gone to Pakistan. And now, this is the first wave of migration after 1st March of 1947. There's a second wave of migration which happens in 1948, where Muslims who went to Pakistan realized that they have been wronged. They've been fooled, that this is not the Jannat that they want. And they came back to India or wanted to come back to India. At that point of time, Government of India took this very stern measure of saying that we cannot give you permits. You require, first thing, you require a permit to come back. And second thing, we can't give permits. If you don't give permits, you cannot come back at all. So this was the first discrimination against Muslims at that point of time. And Nehru was there, right there doing, with the government doing this act, because they believed that if large number of Muslims came back to India, seeing that West Pakistan was not the place that they wanted it to be, now it will create a huge problem, because already the properties have been given to the Hindus and Sikhs. This was one of the fallacies of Nehru, and let us accept it, and this is one of the major fallacies of Nehru. But then what Nehru did at that point of time is to tell the people of India that, we are better served as a secular nation looking at what is called temples of modern India, which basically are the big projects, which is the public sector units, your construction of large dams, starting a program for nuclear power, starting a program for Indian space program and all of that. The large dreams, IITs, all of this came during Nehru's time. So let us not forget that. So it was because in that context, it was impossible to have this dialogue on whether we should be a secular nation or where should be a Hindutva nation. So that dialogue is happening now, because now the Hindutva forces have a very huge and tall leader in Narendra Modi. And the other side, you see, we have a collection of leaders, but we don't have one single leader. We have a collection of so-called ideologies, but we don't have one, concrete ideology. The only concrete ideology at this point of time, which is the counter to the Hindutva form of, living or all of that, is the Dravidian ideology, which has been kind of coined very long time ago. It's based on social justice. It's based on equity and all of that. Just coined a very long time ago by Periyar, practiced by Anna, practiced by Karunanidhi, but given a term, the Dravidian form of governance was in 2021 by M.K. Stalin, who was chief minister here. And that is the only thing that stands in the way of the Hindutva ideology. So just to recap what this ideology is, I have tried to explain it in a way what this Dravidian model of development is. At its simplest, the Dravidian model of governance is about peace, progress, and prosperity, which is achieved by the practice of the principles of social justice, rational thought and action, firmly rooted in equity. In governance, this translates to inclusive financial planning, access to education, housing, nutrition, and health for all, a meaningful implementation of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, encouraging independent decision making in all structures of democratic governance at all levels of government, and the state adhering to the Indian Constitution in letter and spirit on all these issues, including that of freedom of religion and personal freedoms. The only way to ensure social justice and equity is to push affirmative action for the vulnerable people across a number of areas. This first is access to education and jobs, most critical, I would say, for the oppressed and marginalized people. Tamil Nadu is a pioneer in this area. The South Indian Liberal Party, popularly the Justice Party, was a catalyst for this first step in this direction. In 1928, the communal government order was passed by the state government, working under the Queen at that point of time, to increase representation of underprivileged communities in government. After K. Kamaraj became Chief Minister of the Madras state in 1954, reservation of 25% for the backward classes and 16% for the scheduled castes and tribes in education and jobs was implemented. Chief Minister M. Karunanidhi set up the first commission for backward classes, the Sattanathan Commission, in 1969. It recommended raising the level of reservation from 25% to 31%, and for SC and for ST from 16% to 18%. This was implemented. Chief Minister M.G. Ramchandran, in his first term, further increased reservation for BCs from 31% to 50% and maintained the SC/ST reservation at 18%. In a later term, 1989-91, Karunanidhi tweaked the 50% reservation by dividing the reservation caste subcategories to BCs and most backward classes. He allocated 30% for the BCs and 20% for the MBCs. In his last term as Chief Minister, Karunanidhi carved out 3.5% from the BC reservation for Muslims and 3% from the for the Arundatriyas from the 18% SC quota. In contrast, reservation for BCs across India was implemented in 1991 with 27%. After massive agitations to implement the recommendations of the commission formed for the purpose, the Mandal Commission. Formation of a commission to uplift backward classes in the state actually raise the education levels of the state. Now, I would just tell you that the role of the state in ensuring education, in making people come into the education stream, get jobs, access jobs, not just government jobs, but jobs across private sector and all of that. The critical thing has been education, especially higher education. So what if this was implemented across India? There is a huge problem with reservations as understood by the younger people of today, and that is because a lot of people who accessed education through the 69% reservation that was implemented by the Dravidian parties in Tamil Nadu suddenly turn around and think that this was such a bad thing. Now, I don't for the life of me understand why this is happening, and it can only happen because we don't have enough of knowledge about what is happening. I think it's pertinent to also note that the so-called Dravidian development model here, the results that it has yielded, and the kind of development models in other places and other states is testimony to the fact that Tamil Nadu's achievements are unparalleled. I'm saying this because of the kind and nature of development that has that happened in Tamil Nadu could have been easily replicated across India. And the question to be asked is, why was this not replicated? Because at a larger level, you see that politics is the only thing that affects all of us or touches all lives. And social workers are a medium to achieve that. In some ways, social workers are actually disruptors, so to speak. And I'll leave you just with one story to drive home this point. In fact, after 4 of us were selected to be part of a PhD program in the University of, in Vrije University in Amsterdam, and we had finished our, the research methodology part for month and a half and all of that. And the last night we were sitting around having a meal, and somebody asked me, why is it that you think that the Tamil Nadu model of development is so great? This was in 2019 before COVID. And then I told them that, see, it is because, you can talk about this for hours and hours, but I told them there are so many practical things. I'll just tell you a story. So I told them that, in 1996, when the DMK came back to power, there was a demand, there's a cabinet meeting was happening, and there was generally a demand that there was a scheme to marry off girls from the SC community. The government gave 25,000 rupees for marriage. Now, the thing was that there was only one catch to it, that the girl should be educated till class 10. That's it. The girl should have attended class 10 examination, and then absolutely, the government will give you 25,000 rupees. Now, many of the ministers in that cabinet meeting felt that, no, we should just reduce this. Let us make this class 8. We will reach a larger catchment of SC people, and obviously we'll get more votes and all of that. So this conversation went back and forth. It was, about, I think this, usually the thing with the Karunanidhi government and the Anna government, even Kamaraj government, was that there was a lot of discussions in the sense that every single member of the cabinet was expected to speak up and then make his point of view known in one particular issue. So here too, about 30 ministers had spoken. Everybody was in unison that, we have to reduce it to class 8, and, it's going to be great and all of that for various reasons. I mean, every minister was a district secretary as well. So they spoke about numbers from their district, what will happen, how many people will get benefited and all of that. At the end of that entire discussion, Karunanidhi tells them, only then, if we keep this class 10, only then will the kid be allowed to study till class 10. Otherwise, the education will stop at class 8, and then it will be like, it will be deja vu again. The entire purpose of the scheme will get lost. When I said this, there were 3 women sitting with me. One of the girls told me, that is why I was educated. And I was so stunned by this. I asked her how. Then she said that in class 10, she got excellent marks. And then obviously the headmaster came to the house and said, no, she has got excellent marks. Now you will have to, make sure that she studies till class 12. Already Mapla was ready. The groom was ready. 25,000 rupees application was ready. They had to get this girl married off. That's all. Now, this girl then went on to study till class 12. Again, for the misfortune of the father, she again tops the entire school. So then the father decides, Seri Kalda donkey, let us study further, what to do. Because there was the entire school was supporting her study. She also wanted to study. She went on to do her undergrad. Again, she really did well. Government support is there to do undergrad also in Tamil Nadu. And of course, there is SC/ST scholarships across India also. She went on to TIS after that. She did a master's in TIS, and now she's doing her PhD. The point is that this is the most important element of education itself. There can be any number of schemes, but if the schemes are not well thought out, if the schemes are meant, for votes, then it doesn't work at all. That is my whole problem with this Hindutva thing. Hindutva is a vote thing. If you do not think of people as people who have to develop and come on to the next level, and if you don't take inputs from a larger section of society, I think politics will do us in. And today the critical question is that whether we want to continue the kind of politics we have practiced for 75 years, or we have to look back and say 75 years, kuch nahi hua, nothing happened in the 75 years. Bloody, we have to do something better and something completely different and drastic. That is where we are at. And that is the critical path or the junction that we are in. And it is up to you, social workers, to do what is required to bring society to a place which actually thinks in unison and acts in a way that we progress forward as a society and do not regress further at all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It really made us think, what if, why not? And as said, as social workers, we'll strive our very best to make that what if and why not as an action plan. Thank you so much, sir. We're also happy to hear about the associated memories you have with our institution. We are very happy. Thank you, sir. I now invite Dr. Subhashini, our beloved Dean of Madras School of Social Work, to felicitate our esteemed Chief Guest, Dr. R.K. Radhakrishnan. I now request our Dean ma'am to provide the felicitation address.
A very good morning to the dignitaries on the dais and a galaxy of social workers, social engineers, societal architects, change agents, all that was inspired by all these people who spoke before me. These words have just come to me, okay? So you are the big change agents in society, and I think your presence means a lot in this campus. Of course, I thank the organizers, especially Dr. Satyamurthy and his entire team, for having invited me to do the felicitation address. It is a pleasure always to be associated with the social work department, which is a torchbearer of MSSW, and of course, our pride, that is the Center for Social Justice, is our new pride that MSSW is happy about. So to be associated with these two departments on this important day where we are talking about the most important topic, sustainable transformative change and social justice. A two-day conference, the contents, the schedule shows, the program schedule shows a lot of experts coming and talking. We already heard Dr. Radhakrishnan, who spoke, a very forceful, heavy talk that he gave us. And I'm sure the others who are going to follow are going to be much more impactful. And there are panel discussions. There's a lot of research paper presentations. All these only to drive home the point for sustainable transformation, transformative change and social justice. Any change today, we know that has to be long drawn. So it should be sustainable, it should be long lasting, it should be impactful, definitely, and there should be a positive change. Transformative change is where you're promoting ecological and probably economic development, which is very, very essential for a bright future. And like everybody did focus that social justice means inclusion. So everybody should be part of it. Just for the example of the SALT that we talked about, that our chief guest spoke about. So inclusion is very, very important to see that there is some big change that's going to take place. Solutions must be more holistic in nature rather than departmentalized or work as solos. I am sure this 2 days conference, I see only about 180 students and delegates who are present here. but we have 300 strong people to our own students sitting upstairs. So you are about 500 plus. And we heard that there are about 150 paper presentations, a lot of people from all over India who have come here. I wish this discussion, this deliberations, this dialogue that's going to take place for these 2 days going to be very informative, knowledgeable, a lot of sharing that's going to take place. I hope you take good memories from here, not only from the knowledge part of it, but MSSW is a happening place, and we always, believe in connection and connectivity. I wish you continue to be associated with us, those who have come from outside, and our own students who will pass out and be yet connected with us. We have a very proud alumni. Some of the alumni are also our board members. It only goes to show that how even after time, the connectedness with an alumni is very important. And whatever best they can do for the institution, they've continuously supported the growth of the institution. I wish this 2 days deliberations success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I invite Dr. Pavanandi Vemulu, Director of Center for Social Justice and Equity, to deliver the felicitation address.
Thank you. A very good morning. And our chief guest, Dr. Radhakrishnan, and she's very, and our chairman and the principal. And then I must first extend my thanks to the Department of Social Work for giving an opportunity. This is the first event on record of organizing the very new nascent center, Center for Social Justice and Equity. And then for that, I express my sincere thanks to all of you, and very thanked that you have invited Dr. Radhakrishnan in such a way that I'm personally so glad that it is even the very first events of our social. It's accidental happening. It's like that when I saw this way. It's a very poetical justice also. It's not only social justice. And then, because all of you know that the front line, the journal's role in terms of, because that idea is very, very thing, because we will going to discuss it in the panel discussion, because Dr. Radhakrishnan mentioned Professor Parasuram, and then it gave a flash of memory to me also when he had visited JNU, and we had our groups, we bombarded with him and we cornered him in the post-dinner, because we were trained as a social justice into a social movement perspective. That's always, we have been trained by institutional, that the institution of JNU is trained as to look into the social justice in terms of your social movement. That's for us, these Madhav Patkar and Sundarlal Paguna, these were the towering person who visited, and they were the models for us. But this professor, and he came and he is asked us, no, you guys, you should also look into the social work and social policy and all. Then at that time, young age, now I realized how he is so wisdom, because the age gives a kind of maturity or otherwise to acknowledge the other side of the way. And in the another way, it is a poetic justice for me. And as being a part of the social justice institutions, to give a tribute to Professor Parasuram also in bringing and connecting a social work. And then it's a social work, but unfortunately we realized we reduced the social justice, the entire concept, into an affirmative action. It's only in the political. The social justice is the area where we could look into the state only, but at the same time we forgot about what is the role of the society, particularly the civil society. And second, even the market itself. And now there has been much debate about the corporate social responsibility. This could be the another way of bringing a social work. So in that way, I look forward the social work scholars and then experts to give in a different meaning or a perspective to the social justice, because the social work has an entire a knowledge stream. It is the contribution. It is going to be the contributions of the social work to expand the scope of the social justice concept. With these words, that I'll it's so glad, and then I'll once again express my thanks to these Department of Social Work and the chairmans, and then thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As we all conclude our inaugural program, I request Dr. A. Thirumagal Rajam, Program Head of Bachelor of Social Work, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Saying thank you is more than good manners, it's good spirituality too. A very good morning to all. On behalf of all students and staff, I am glad to be standing here to express my vote of thanks. A special thanks to our chief guest, Dr. R.K. Radhakrishnan, Senior Associate Editor, Frontline, for accepting our invitation and for being here with us today. Your thoughts have truly inspired us. Thank you, sir. I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. K. Matthew, Chairman of MSSW, for his wonderful presence and support. Thank you, sir. I thank our Principal, Dr. S. Raja Samuel, and Dean, Dr. R. Subhashini, for always supporting and guiding us. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Sincere thanks to Dr. K. Satyamurthy, Head of the Department of Social Work, Dr. Damon, Program Head, who handled the event throughout. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, special thanks to Dr. R. Pavanandi Vemblu, Director of Social Justice and Equity, for his extended support. Thank you, sir. I express my thanks to all faculty members for the well-organized event. Thank you, faculty members. A wide round of applause and thanks to all participants who made the event a memorable one. Finally, I would like to thank all of you present here for making the time to be with us today and helping us make this event a grand success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's make this conference a platform for meaningful dialogue and positive change. Enjoy the proceedings, and may we all leave here inspired and motivated to work towards a more just and sustainable society. Have a nice day.
Students and participants' refreshments are served near the wisdom tree. Resource persons are already here, so we kindly request you all to be back by 11:30 for the next session. Thank you. Students are requested to be back here by 11:15 for the next section. Thank you.
Dear participants, the book of abstracts soft copy is available. You can scan this QR code and you can download the PDF. In case if you want, we have only printed limited copies because the cost is quite high. But if you want a hard copy, it will cost you around 485 rupees. So, but we have a soft copy of it here, so you can download it. The PDF can be downloaded. Yeah, thank you.
I request Mr. S. Deen Dayalan, resource person for the day, to take up the seat at the dais. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. A warm good morning to one and all present here. It's with great pleasure and honor that I welcome you all to the plenary session 1 on the topic Social Workers as Social Engineers. We are thrilled to have such a distinguished gathering of social work scholars and advocates from around the nation under one roof. Your presence here today signifies your dedication and commitment to the noble cause of social work, and we are grateful for your participation in the event. We are indeed fortunate to have Mr. S. Deen Dayalan, founder, CEO Group of Companies, as our resource person for the day. I would like to welcome Ms. Devanshi Bali, BSW second year, to introduce him to the audience.
Mr. S. Deenadayalan, founder, CEO Group of Companies. We are proud to have our alumnus for the session. He is also our board member. He did his post-graduation degree in social work from Madras School of Social Work and undergraduate degree in sociology from Annamalai University. He works with underprivileged to discover their extraordinary talent. Over 30,000 students of municipal schools in India have been benefited from his model and evolved into leaders and entrepreneurs. Thank you. Now I would like to call Mr. S. Deenadayalan to take over the stage.
Good morning. I'm a little bit deaf. Good morning. Second, please don't use this word sir. How many of you know the meaning of sir? Slave, I remind. I don't want you to be slaves. Are you slaves? Just call me Dean, okay? I have few conditions for my talk. Everybody should compulsorily ask 2 questions. Okay? But I will decide whom. So everybody should think of 2 questions. Second, I'll be walking and talking. I like the last bench. I sat in the last bench. I like the last bench. Okay? My first question, I'll share the 3 questions. What is social engineering? Please think. What is social work? Second question. Okay. Third, I like this word W very much. W stands for if you are all thought of, I'll pick up somebody at random. What is social engineering? What is social work? I like this word W. No volunteers. You know why I don't want volunteers? The volunteers always talk. I want people who don't talk. Let me pick up, but I'll give you an opportunity. Can I ask you, madam, what is social engineering? You can quickly Google. And all the Google answers are wrong on social engineering. As you start Googling on social engineering, what is social work? Because you're all students of social work. What is social work? Madam. Students of social work, institution of social work.
To help underground people for students.
Not underground people.
So we are
To help all of us. Help each one to help themselves.
first we want to help themselves, then we want to help others. So that's it.
Okay. Anybody now want to attempt on social engineering? He has been raising his hand now. Yeah.
Social engineers, they actually work for the people, and in different fields, like in building up the institutions and developing many new things.
Somebody went through the Google, no? Who went to the Google? Does that define social engineering? What Google says on social engineering is totally opposite. It is totally negative. So what Google talks about social engineering is totally negative. Okay. What we are going to talk about social engineering is picking up from what Mr. Radhakrishnan spoke in the morning, how we are going to look at differentiation. Before that, how many of you use Amazon? Can you all raise your hand? So, see, look at our challenge.
Hello. Hello.
Oh. Hello? Audible? Hello? Give the mic. Hello? Hello? Audible?
Hello. Hello. Check. Hello.
Hello? 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 So we all talk Swadeshi and none of you are patriotic. Am I right or wrong? Who says wrong? Who says wrong? Please stand up. Please stand up. Please, please. Appreciate. Please give her a clap. What is the paste you are buying, madam? Toothpaste? Outstanding. What is the toothbrush?
A brush, a mango.
99% of the products what we are buying is Videshi. Correct? And is demographic dividend an advantage for India or a disaster for India? Do you understand demographic dividend? Do you all understand demographic dividend? What is demographic dividend? Anybody would like to answer? Any volunteer? What is demographic dividend? So is it good for India or bad for India? No, it is for India. This is what I want to read all the our demographic dividend is good for the world, for India. Our demographic dividend is the world for Indian economy. India is a marketplace of dumping which is not required. You remember, we are all consumers of products what is not required. Who's really think on this? Who's economic benefit? India did not know English. We are the highest exporting country in the world. Okay. Now I can't speak right. I have analyzed all non-English speaking countries in the world. Their export quotient is higher than the import quotient. All non-English speaking countries in the world today. I'm not talking about 400 years ago, India was not knowing English and exporting. So what does that mean to all of you? Because when you're talking about social engineering, when you're talking about social engineering, we need to understand the fundamentals first. When we did not know English, we are more knowledgeable. When we know English, slave I remain. Please remember this. Why China can market a Ganesha in Bombay, a kite in Ahmedabad, a refurbished shoe in Nigeria, but a Chinese will not speak English. So something called native intelligence. All of us have tremendous native intelligence. I work on this space called native intelligence, where the competition I create for social work students, HR students, is from the government schools of India. I don't want them to know English. I teach them English. English is only a commercial noise. Can I work on the native voice? Social engineering is about working on the native voice. The tremendous capability. I'm going to now pose one more question to all of you. A 40% mark in a government school is far better than a 100% mark in a CBSE or an ICIC school. Can anybody say why? Yes and no. Look at a government school, no teachers. Look at the status of the parents, either single parent or alcoholic father or runaway father or runaway mother, economic deprivation. Who goes to a government school? Who goes to a government school today? Don't say Abdul Kalam into a government school. Today, who goes to a government school? Economically deprived person. That economically deprived person without teachers in the school, in most of the schools, gets a 40% in a common examination. Not from Uttar Pradesh because they can copy, but in most of the states. And look at a CBSE 100% or look at a ICSE 100%. Tuition, parental pampering, and what all. So who has a better capability? Government school student or a... So the capability as well as the capability is with people at the bottom of the pyramid. Not even bottom of the pyramid, I would call it as base of the pyramid. But somehow education has made us not looking at them. And I was asking you about this word W, why I like this word W. One is of course women, I like women. But something else more than that. What is W more important? Sorry? Welfare? Not welfare. We are talking about social engineering. We are talking about social engineering. Okay. See, welfare is again a wrong word. You add, can individuals make a difference to the society? We can always say, I want to do this, but this society is not doing it. I don't get a support from my environment. But each individual can make a difference. You add a W before individual. Windividual, win. You add a W before innovation, winnovation. You add a W before inclusion, winclusion. So this power of W can create wonders. Okay. But to explain in your language, all of us like this together, no word? Together? All of us like this word together? Especially if I ask the boys, can you split this word together? Look at the energy they have to get her. They go out of the way to do things. So each individual has that phenomenal. Together, two guests also you can put it. Her or his, that's a different. But each individual has a tremendous potential. Are we leveraging this potential? As students of social work, I am a proud student of social work. People introduce me as HR leaders. I don't like to call myself as HR leader. If you see my Titan resume in 1985, it says a proud social worker than a HR leader. Because what you read, what you do in your first year social work subject is going to create wonders for you. How many of you remember development psychology? Do you read development psychology? Who is the author of the book?
Elizabeth Horlock.
Okay. How many of you understand group work? Where we talk about dyad, tetrad, all that. Do you really understand that? Yes. These are your real life-changing moments. How many of you look at casework? These are your really life-changing moments. So how do I use this knowledge to change the society? So am I talking something nonsense? Morning when Mr. Radhakrishnan was speaking about, how many of you know a place called Koothambakam here? What is special about Koothambakam?
It's a model village. They have received the Nirmal Abhiyan award for being the cleanest village in India.
Forget all the awards. What is so unique about Koothambakam? Gandhian, morning you had a talk about Gandhian, village, self-sustainability. I am now talking about Koothambakam. If you do not know about Koothambakam, go and spend time. I go there once a year. That's my rejuvenation place. Have you heard of this gentleman called Rangaswamy Ilango? Please invite him. Talk to him. He comes from a so-called scheduled caste community. He created an equality society. Morning Mr. Radhakrishnan was talking about. No agraharams, no Mudaliyar Taru, no Nadar Taru. And for him to make this change, he stood in the election against the local ruling parties, DMK or ADMK. Last 20 years, he has won the election. Made the entire panchayat. So don't look at the award, look at the person behind it. What has he done? How has he done? It's one individual who made a difference. Anybody from Hyderabad here? Can you believe in Hyderabad there's a place called Pragati Nagar? For the last 30 years, you can't buy alcohol, you can't buy cigarettes, plastics are not available, cool drinks are not available. In a society called Pragati Nagar. You can download and find out. And that has been transformed by one individual by name Dayakar Reddy. Okay, he is a communist leader. So each one of us as an individual can do wonders. To me, social engineering is all about, I pick up municipal school students, mainstream them as blue-collar employees in the industry. But what I do differently is the industry is, as they are working in the blue-collar roles, we give them a customized education. What do you mean by customized education? Can anybody say customized education? It's not an Indira Gandhi Open University degree, rubber stamp.
Sir,
Well, all of you get is a rubber stamp.
Sir, customized education is the education tailored to the needs of the learners. It is basically indeed situational in nature. It's country specific. For example, we are operating in India. Customized education should cater to the needs of learners in India.
Okay, slight different in that thought. Oh, sorry. Any industry is there for profit or for social service?
Sir, industry is therefore is commercial in nature and it is profit oriented.
So, in a commercial environment in which we are all living, we can't say that is not right. Okay, we have to accept that reality and create an education model in a way that this individual can deliver what the industry wants. Okay. Then, can we also build leadership skills to them? By removing supervision. So after 5 to 7 years of their stay in the industry, can you all believe many of them have become general managers and vice presidents. They are all native students of India from different parts of India who did not know how to speak English. Today they are general managers and vice presidents. Some of them are entrepreneurs. That means there's a tremendous innate potential. Okay. Can we take an extra step to make that happen? Okay. And my own junior, your super senior called Vidyakar. How many of you know about Vidyakar? He was 1 year junior to me. When he was a student, I'm talking about one individual. Okay. He used to go to the dustbin in and around Egmore, dustbin in and around Nungambakam. He knows in which dustbin a small child will be there, abandoned child will be there. And that is Udavum Karangal today. Please go and visit Udavum Karangal. How many of you know Banyan? Okay. What is the story of Banyan? Don't look at today's story. Look at the story when they started. How many of you know the story when Vandana started?
She was on her field work and she found a mentally retarded woman on the street and she don't know where to take her, and she approached the professors to get guidance, but then they said there is no exact place. That's how she started Banyan to adopt all the mentally retarded women, and she can provide a safe place for them. She with her friends took the lady to their own home, and they maintained the women for so many days in their house, and they could not sustain it, so that they started a new place. I think they collected from friends circles.
Okay. The early stages of their life were all struggle. But today, they are VIPs. Do you know Shanti Ranganathan? She was my classmate. Any of you know Shanti Ranganathan? She is in the Hall of Fame.
TTK.
Your own School of Social Work Hall of Fame. She lost her husband at a young age for alcohol. She started Alcohol Anonymous, de-addiction camp. Coming from a very, very well-to-do elite TTK family, but she used to go and sleep in the villages. They are your role models. Social workers of Madras School of Social Work got Padma Shri, Magsaysay Award, but somewhere you all compare with HR students. First, inferiority complex, break it. You can do wonders. You can make a difference. Okay. Second, think differently. If you don't think differently, you're going to be a big challenge. As I was entering, I'm going to be a little critical now. The organizer should not mistake me for that. As I was entering, they took me to the conference room, and we are talking about sustainability. And for 3 cashew nuts, a plastic paper. 4 cashew nuts. Okay. See what is the effort involved? Okay. So please avoid even the mementos, what you are giving, plastic. So we are talking about sustainability. We need to look at in walk, talk, action, sustainability. It could be a book. It could be a small value of this money to your NGO as a check. But in small things, don't think big. In small things, we can make a difference. So my humble appeal. I'm an idiot. Let me accept what Mr. Matthew said. I'm an idiot. I'm also from a tribal, in the sense I'm attached to Madras School of Social Work. That tribal behavior is with me. But I'm trying to be a social citizen. It's very difficult. Being a social citizenry is not that easy. I'm trying to be a social citizenry. And when Mr. Radhakrishnan spoke about rational thoughts, and he spoke about Gandhiji, he spoke about Nehru and the rational thoughts. Tell me, who is the infallible human being in the world today? Is there any infallible human being in the world today? Nobody. So all of us have our own mistakes, our own. But can we look at the best thing in each individual? We always find fault with others, correct? Can we start finding one good thing in each other? That's your starting point in social engineering. Can you start talking to each other, finding one good thing? Very difficult. It's very difficult, easy to find 100 fault, but very difficult to find one good thing in the individual. So if you have to be successful, your starting point is there. And I'm the privileged student of Mary Klabola Jadhav because that was the last batch. And I got a scholarship. I'm from a son of a mechanic. My father was couldn't afford the scholarship I got from Mrs. Mary Klabola Jadhav. That's the one reason why I'm trying to give back to the society. I have some pride. I'm also behind this foundation of this, whatever we are seeing. We try to establish 10 chairs. One of the chairs is this. Okay. And I've been fortunate to meet many of the VIPs. Not I went behind them. Please remember that I did not go behind them. Recently, Mr. Modi invited me to meet him. For the work I do, I like it, Modi or not, is not an issue. People should know your work, not your visibility, not your PowerPoint presentation, not your, you understand? And what is divide? Today the divide is at the poor level or at the rich level. Today where is the divide high? Divide is very, very high at the elitist level, at the richest level. The children of rich people Go to the state of art schools and drugs are there. The rural slum students are far, far better. Yes, their parents may be alcoholic. That's the way the society is living, in which can we make a small difference. And your own senior, I was very fortunate to visit him in a place called Collie Hills. How many of you know about this gentleman? Anybody knows? You all go for a first year field work? Rural camp? He went to Collie Hills for a rural camp. And he did a small socio-economic survey, and he found girls below 14 are having AIDS, malnutrition. And Collie Hills is supposed to be the Siddha Peedam. Siddhas lived there. And he is not from Collie Hills. He decided he will dedicate his life in Collie Hills. He started working for them. He started a society called Abhinavgram Society. Please go and visit this field work. And today the farmers are agitating in Delhi. He has created a model for all the tribal farmers. Their products are directly procured by Tata Coffee or ITC. Every farmer, after his intervention, is getting 44 rupees per kg more. All individuals. Please remember, all individuals who can do this. So you as individual social worker can do wonderful social engineering. And my journey started in an organization called Metur BHL. Any of you have heard this name? Metur BHL. No, none of you would have heard this name. But the name I'm going to say, all of you might have heard this name. Indra Nui. All of you have heard this name, Indra Nui? No? Yes? She is the most powerful women leader. We all started as the management trainees. I was the only social work student who was not from IIM. And she was my colleague. Okay. That is where my transformation personally happened, where my boss called me and said, don't call me sir. You know, at 23, he was 54, he was a director, I was a trainee. He said, don't call me sir. What he told me at that point of time is, by calling sir, you are subordinating your thoughts. You would have wonderful ideas. Each one of you will have wonderful ideas. The moment you see somebody as sir, all are human beings, all are equal potential. Because I have a gray hair, don't think I'm intelligent. Okay. Somewhere we have some thoughts we don't articulate. The reason why I asked each one of you to think two questions is, we never encourage questioning. We never encourage questioning. Do we ask people to change the status quo? Why we don't ask people to change the status quo? Because our minds are automated. Now, can we do a small exercise? Can you all please raise your hand? What did I say? Did I say right hand? So, how is your mind automated? But go and do this exercise with the child. And the child will say, why should I raise my hand? So, unless we start questioning, we are not going to change anything. We are going to accept everything as it is. I will see plastic, I will make some noise and go away. I'll see some dust, I'll make some noise and go away. Morning I go for a walk on beach. I make it a point whenever I come to Chennai. I live in Bangalore. Whenever I come to Chennai, I go to walk. I pick up the glass pieces, put it in the number of glass pieces, beer bottles broken in the beaches. And most of us go to the beaches. We see the glass pieces. Do we do something about it? So I don't want you to do big things. Can you think of doing small things? And that's where the social engineering starts. Not the social engineering what Google talks about, which is talking in a very anti angle. And also I want to talk about two more role models. Who is the role model for Mr. Abdul Kalam? Have anybody know who is the role model for Mr. Abdul Kalam? No? A porter in Bangalore railway station. A porter in Bangalore railway station. So this gentleman writes to Abdul Kalam, don't think you are the son of a boatman. There are several people like you, but why are you hobnobbing with Bollywood people? Fair letter or unfair letter? Fair letter or unfair letter? Fair. I thought it's very unfair letter. Personally, I thought it's very unfair letter. And Mr. Abdul Kalam being Mr. Abdul Kalam, he writes a letter back to him. I'm impressed with the letter, what you have written to me. Would you like to come and meet me? So a president is sending a letter to all of you like this. How do you feel? You feel elated? You feel very happy? But this man says, since you are inviting me, should I come? Please send me the airfare. And they send the airfare. And this gentleman is my role model. He looks like a thug like me. So the security tells, President has a lot of VIPs waiting. You have been given 15 minutes of time. You can spend 15 minutes and come out. And President has a habit of meeting people alone. So 15 minutes goes, he's not coming out. Security gets worried. They all go inside. Sir, a lot of VIPs are waiting. Can you send this gentleman out? He says, no, I met one of the greatest man in my life. Whomsoever is a VIP, let them all wait. And I see this news in the newspaper called Deccan Herald. It took 3 months time for me to get an appointment with him, because I was very curious. Why is that President of India has called him and said he is a role model? So he gives me an appointment. I went to his office, beautiful office, and asked him, why did President say that? In the meanwhile, he gets a telephone call. He started shouting at the other side of the telephone call. I don't know who was on the other side. After 15 minutes, he said, sorry, sir, I made my noise. I said, whom did you shout at? The Deputy Superintendent of Police is pleading with me to withdraw a case of corruption charges because I'm going to retire in the next 6 months. Please withdraw the case, I'll get my pension fund. And you know what Mr. Shanmugappa said? Bloody fellow, you earn millions of rupees through corruption, I'm not going to withdraw the case. And he publishes a magazine called Trucker in Kannada, where he publishes the photographs of corrupt officials. So I got very curious and asked him, why did you go and meet Mr. Abdul Kalam? He said, sir, every day 62 truck drivers are dying on the road in India. And they don't have an insurance scheme. And the spouses have no economic livelihoods. I need to support them. Then Mr. Abdul Kalam said, this is a very, very simple issue. You need not have written a letter like this. Sir, I have not come to talk to you about this. Something more than that, I want to talk about Indian economy. And President is getting a little jittery. Somebody is talking about Indian economy. So he says, sir, do you know that trucks are financed by private financiers, not by banks? Sir, the industries take loans from the banks and the non-performing asset is the highest. But no truck financing company, they have a non-performing asset. And you know what is the rate of financing? First of all, social work students don't know financing, so you have to understand that. It is at 21%. He said, sir, if we are given the bank loan, the tomato price will come down by 25%. He brought about a supply chain economy theory that if trucks are financed by the banks, your entire cost of living will come down. His qualification is 8 standard. He can't speak English. So I've written about 30 books, 30 persons who have done such wonderful, outstanding impacts. Some of them I would suggest you invite them. So it is all individuals who can make a difference, not society, not college, not professors, not teachers. With all respect to them, because I'm what I am because of my teachers. But it is each one of you, if you want to be a social engineer, please look at a project. You will go through a lot of obstacles. It's not that it'll be easy cakewalk, but you can make a difference. So let me close with my last case study, which is my pride case study. How many of you wear Titan watches? You know it is packed by Blythe? How many of you know the Titan watches are packed by Blythe? So we started, I was the first HR head of Titan watches. We started taking girls at the age of 16 and people said child labor. Okay, it is not. Legally it is not. Okay, it is an adolescent labor. But no, but their economic status changed. And you know, in 1985, girls in Krishnagiri and Dharmaburi belt affected by Naxalism coming to work was a phenomenal. They used to come in a trunk box. We used to have, I learned the foster care. We had a foster care department here. I learned foster care from there. And girls going out and working was not all that easy those days. So we had foster parenting there. We had hostels for girls, every 20 students, hostel for girls. And today, 500 girls, their children are all abroad. And each of them have their own house. Okay. And if I had only gone by today's filter of academic qualification, what IT companies are doing, for doing a 10th standard job, we are hiring engineers. And we are creating depression, we are creating divorce. How many of you know the social consequences of most of the IT company employees? There's something called IT morbidity. Nimans has done a study of IT morbidity. So, the more the higher the education, our being grounded is becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. So, please have your higher education. I'm not against your higher education. You can have all your rubber stamp. But can you be at the base of the pyramid? Can you do a small difference? With this, I'll close. Any questions? Welcome. I don't like sitting on that stage.
Sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hold.
Hello. Sir, your talk was really very much informative and enlightening. My simple question is, what transformative change do you want in in higher education sector, as national education policy 2020 is going to be implemented soon? So as as a person having a great experience and wisdom, I humbly request you to give your transformative ideas for in higher education sector.
Will you not throw stone at me? Please close down all educational institutions. Because we are still following a British curriculum, we are still following a not contextualizing to what the country needs. Okay, while NEP talks about it, are we fashion-based educators or passion-based educators? We are all fashion-based educators, not passion-based educators. And students are also passion-based or passion-based. My neighbor is wanting to do this, I want to do this. Okay, so the challenge is not with the education institution, challenge is with each one of us, with our parents, each one of us. So this is my, I may be wrong in my answer, but this is my answer. Yes, sir. Oh, don't look at engineering from the language of technical, please, please. See, that is our problem. English has made us to think that way. So I can't help it. That's unfortunately, I work with human beings, and if you come with me and walk around with me, 40,000 of ordinary people have become extraordinary, and that to me is social engineering, not the engineering what you are talking about. I'm sorry about it. That's why I started with the definition. Don't look at the social engineering definition, what you all think of. But I may be wrong. I'm sorry. Any other questions? Yeah, yes. Time management, you are taking care. If it is over, I'll stop. You can ask me questions outside.
So, my name is Afna. I am from Sri Shankaracharya University, Kerala. Our friends did their field work, 4th semester field work at IRCDUC, which is Information and Resource Center for Deprived Urban Communities, and they were allocated a KP Park, which is a resettlement housing for the people who previously lived in slums, I guess. And during the a presentation of their fieldwork, they said that the government is not doing anything for these people who are living in this KP Park, which is in a stage of demolition. Like if anything happens, it will collapse and thousands of people will die. So as social workers, our friends who went there were not allowed to have interaction with the people who are living there. So as social workers, what can we do? As you said, I don't know if this is connected with social engineering, but what is the role of social workers? Is there any chance that we can bring any change? Because the government is not turning their, they are turning their face from them, like they are not doing anything. This was during the Jayalalitha government, this was built during Jayalalitha's period, and still this Stalin's government is not doing anything. So your
only two simple answers. Are you willing to go to jail? Are you willing to go to jail? See, social activism is also part of social work. And if you are really concerned, you need to mobilize. You need to, if you have seen the movie Jai Bhim, okay, the current chairman of the Capability Commission is one Dr. Balasubramaniam, who has tremendously changed various societies. He was arrested many times for causes like what you are talking about. But he was willing to go to jail. He was willing to take up the issue. He was mobilizing. He was willing to get beaten, like when he was talking about Salt Satyagraha, Gandhiji was beaten many times. So sometimes all these issues agitate us. Okay. But are we mobilizing enough courage within us to take things around? The society may not allow, the government may not allow, but everything we are directing the problem towards others. What is that I'm going to do differently is what you will have to look at it. Sometimes possible, sometimes may not be possible, but fail. Your attempts may fail, but never fail to attempt. Thank you.
We'll close with the questionnaire session as of now. Thank you, sir. We are truly honored to have you with us today to share your insights and wisdom. As a token of our appreciation and gratitude for gracing us with your presence today, we would like to present you with a memento. Now, I would request Dr. S. Sutharmati, Assistant Professor, BSW, to felicitate our resource person with a memento. Before we conclude this session, I would like to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to the audience. I would like to welcome Ms. Meghna, BSW second year, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Greetings everyone. Gratitude is the currency that we can mint for ourselves and spend without fear of bankruptcy. Fred D. Van Amberg. It is an honor to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of the Social Work Department. I would like to thank our esteemed board member, alumnus and resource person, Mr. Deena Dayalan sir, founder of Customers Employee Owner Organization, for sharing his insights on using our own goods and services, the importance of native intelligence, the importance of walking and talking sustainability, and last but not the least, finding one good thing in every one of us is the starting point of social engineering. We'll definitely carry forward the knowledge that you've imparted in us, sir. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all the department faculty members. I would like to thank all the audience who have been actively participating in the conference. I would like to also thank all the volunteers who helped us in making this plenary session a success. We'll move on to the next plenary session. Thank you.
With this, I declare the session is officially closed. Thank you once again.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're moving on to plenary session 2 now. I invite our speaker for the session, Dr. Bipin Jojo, to take up the dais. Work for sustainable transformative change and social justice is the theme for the session. As the international community confronts the urgency of global environmental challenges, calls have grown for fundamental transformative change to how we live on the planet and approach the systems that sustain our lives, recognizing that this needs to occur at a scale, degree, and urgency that renders business as usual untenable for sustainable societies. Moreover, fueled by how global inequalities shape the unequal impacts of climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic, there is increasing attention to the need for transformation to incorporate principles of equity and justice. This underlines the value of developing new visions and narratives of plausible futures to guide attitudes, choices, policies, and actions. It gives me immense pleasure and honor to have amongst us Dr. Bipin Jojo, Dean, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, as a speaker for our second plenary session on social work for sustainable transformative change and social justice. Now I call upon Ms. Sindhura Prashant from second year MSW to invite our guest and introduce the guest to the gathering.
Dr. Bipin Jojo is a distinguished professor and dean at the School of Social Work, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. He holds a MA in Social Work from the Utkal University, along with an MPhil and a PhD from TIS. Sir's academic journey has been enriched by prestigious fellowships, including a research fellowship from the University Grants Commission for his PhD and a Commonwealth Fellowship from the British government at SOAS London University. Additionally, he was awarded the DUO India Fellowship in 2020-21 from the University of Jyväskylä, Finland. With a tenure at TIS since 1997, Sir has contributed significantly to teaching, research, and outreach. His expertise span various areas, including tribal issues, working with groups, social welfare administration, participatory project management, climate change, migration, indigenous knowledge system, and well-being. He has authored numerous academic articles and reports for both governmental and non-governmental organizations and is actively engaged in conducting need and impact assessments of CSR projects. Dr. Bipin's international exposure through collaboration and visiting professorships or exchange programs with universities across Europe and the United States has facilitated the internationalization of social work education. Under his guidance, TIS has designed and rolled out the curriculum, introducing a new 4-year BSW program aligned with the National Education Policy Framework in 2023. Now, thank you, sir. We are honored to have you amongst us. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Bipin Jojo to take over the session.
Thank you for this kind introduction. I thank the organizers, especially the principal, the head of the department of the school, Department of Social Work, and the whole organizing team, the faculty and the students, volunteers, for organizing this 2 days national conference on this interesting theme, that is the social work for sustainable transformative change and social justice. Very apt, very contemporary, and need of the hour. I was wondering what should I speak. Then I thought, when we are talking about change, definitely social work aims for change. But can we look for, or can we do this transformative change? I met a political scientist, internationally renowned political scientist. We were discussing change is possible, but transformation, I think it is a too ambitious aim to have the transformation. Change probably we can have it, but transformative change, can we have it? I think it is big challenge, but definitely we should have the dream that we look forward to have the transformative change. And along with this transformative change, another very, very important value loaded concept to the term social justice. I think today, everywhere, any kind of development discourse, nationally, internationally, whether in social work profession or other relevant social science or development profession, they have been talking about the word social justice. And when we say this transformative change and social justice, I like to refer the Sustainable Development Goal, which we all of us are aware of. So I don't want to talk about this, nor I want to mention about that. But it is one of the important agenda, I think, for us to refer or to remind ourselves when we are talking about transformative change and social justice. When we look at the situation in India, out of that about 193 countries, I believe, if I am not wrong, our situation, our rank is about 112. And many of our neighboring countries who are very small, probably their performance is much better than us. So we are claiming that we are one of the fifth, or we are the fifth superpowers or economic powers in the world. But still, when we see with our SDG index, we are far, far behind many of our small countries or many of the African countries, including Bangladesh. Bangladesh is ahead of us. Okay, and then we look at, probably we have been, at least the data shows that we have been moderately improving. We are on track in couple of things, but most of the things probably we are improving. And two important indicators or goals, that is with regard to peace and with regard to land, I think our status is deteriorating. I think that draws our attention. When we look at the situation across the states in India, now we see that where we stand, and this data refers to 2020-21, and we see the Kerala, Tamil Nadu are the top states, but we have the states on the other hand like Bihar, Jharkhand, Assam, UP, who are much, much lower than many of our states. Okay, looks like we are doing well, at least in terms of numbers, but in reality probably we'll have to see, and probably many of us, those of you are, or those of us are interacting or working with the communities and the people, probably we might have debate or the contentions contestation towards this kind of data. State-wise, if you look at, or different goals-wise, I think some of the states are doing well. But again, I think latest data looks at 2020 through 23 data, I think it shows very better. But this was the 2018 data, which shows very, very gloomy picture. Yeah. So, with this context, when we look at social work as the profession, we have to be aware that we are in a crisis, global crisis. And with global crisis, when I say the people around the globe, they're going through different kind of crisis, whether it is different kind of conflict, violent conflict, whether it is in Russia-Ukraine war, whether it is Gaza corridor, or whether it is in Ethiopia and some of this part of the world, or in some of the regions in Northeast in India. Similarly, many, many parts of the world, people are victims of this violent conflict. Millions are displaced from their homes, both voluntarily and involuntarily, because of the wars, violence, and planned development projects, because of global warming and environmental degradation, persistent poverty, increasing inequality, and governments who chooses the competition over the collaboration and sovereignty over the solidarity. It is also linked to the crisis, the impact of economic recession and politically driven decisions and action, which are, we can see them emphasizing more and more on the economics or the economic development or economic empowerment. And so in this kind of situation, how do we respond as a social work fraternity? How do we, thank you. How do we respond? I think there is the clear important question for us to see that how do we respond to this kind of situations, either with our approaches, with our actions, and different transformative initiatives. And so probably we will have to look at differently, go out of box. And many times we try to, or we intend to universalize all our theories and models, practices, and I've tried to take it everywhere and probably we replicate or scale it with the same models what we find in one place. Probably that has failed. And that is why I think it draws our attention to look at the micro level practices and see that how micro level practices around the world or around the countries or around the communities are very, very significant to connect with the meso and the macro levels, and bridging this macro practice to bring about the structural change. So there are issues and challenges, as I said, and Dominelli also emphasizes on this aspect. And so for social work educators and practitioners, it is important to link global challenges and opportunities to locality specific ones that acknowledge the interdependency between these two realms and between people and their social and physical environment. We are aware of this global definition, but what is most important is the emphasis on social change and development, social cohesion and empowerment and liberation of people, principles of social justice, human rights, collective responsibility and respect for diversities, which are supposed to be the central to the social work. And so the challenge is, how do we practice? Okay. Now, how do we practice? I think that is most important. And social justice, which is one of the key features of our global definition, and probably not only in social work practice, but as I said, everywhere, any kind of development discourse or development debates, I think social justice is very, very prominent, very, very important. Okay. And that's where I think I like to draw some of the debates and important discourses around the world, and probably as social work educators and practitioners, it is very important. Now, we have inherited the colonialism. Okay, we call it, we got freedom from colonizers. Some people say, no, we have not been free from colonization. Okay, we might have been free from the British colonization, but we are still not free from colonization. There are many waves of colonizations we are still struggling with. Okay, so probably with the imperialism, the British imperialism, colonization were brought in. Okay, the British imperialism must have gone in, but the essence, the flavor remains. And so we are still struggling with the waves of colonizations. And what happened that this colonization tries to demolish this indigenized knowledge or indigenous knowledge system. Okay, I very often I use this example or story about an old tribal chief from Attapara district of Kerala. He has never gone to Madras School of Social Work, nor TISS, nor any colleges or university. When my PhD students was doing her field work on the land alienation and identity questions, she very proudly went and said that I am doing PhD at Tata Institute and I am doing study about your community. Okay, so this tribal chief tells her, what does your Tata Institute of Social Sciences knows about our community? Okay, and what authority do they have to give you PhD He has never gone to those universities. Okay, so Madras University awards PhD to our scholars. Okay, but do we know, or do they know that people about whom or with whom or about whose realities we are doing research, and the university has the authority to award PhD degree? I think I consider he is my hero. The kind of question he has raised. And he has raised, the question he has raised is what we can call it decolonizing methodologies. The methodology which has come from West, from those colonization, from those Western knowledge system, and imposed on us that if you are doing PhD, you have to have this scientific processes. If you are practicing social work, you have to have these principles and methodology, casework, group work, community organization, so on and so forth. Okay, if you are not practicing casework, group work, or community organization, you are not a professional social worker. Who has told us? The West has told us and given us the literature. I am from TISS. Okay, we are the first inheritor of that colonization. Our teachers, who were the first teachers, were sent to America to study social work and came back and study. We got books from America to be put in our library. So what kind of social work we have been taught? Say, for example, in 30s we were taught, we were brought, we were trained. But what about today? Even after so many years, we are still referring whom? Mary Richmond, Konopka, okay, Wilson, Skidmore. We are still, our curriculum is still colonized. And we are still considering that those methods, Mary Richmond, she developed that method of casework or working with individuals in a particular time and the place and the reality after the World War. Because that time it was very relevant, very important. Because that was needed there, that time. But we still say that, no, this is one of the core or a primary method. What we call it, primary methods of social work. Konopka, Wilson, whatever they wrote in mid 40s and late 40s and early 50s, that is group work. By the way, I must tell you. So whatever we have been teaching, and we are referring those texts, classical books, but we have, how much we have moved away from those classical texts. I think that is what the decolonization means, or the colonization of the knowledge system refers to, and so it draws our attention to decolonize our minds and the knowledge system. I salute those tribals in Andaman Nicobar Island when the tsunami came. Not a single tribal people died from the island, one of the islands, Kasal Islands. All the science failed. But the traditional indigenous knowledge system was the thing which saved each and every tribals of that island. What was our so-called scientific knowledge? It could fail to predict. But their indigenous knowledge was able to predict that something is going to happen, better you run to the mountain and save yourself. And not a single tribal died from that island. So whole idea is to see that the whole imperialism or the colonization of our knowledge system has to be questioned. And the knowledge system is driving our practice and methods. Probably unless we question our knowledge system, how we are producing knowledge, we will not be able to reframe or rework on our practice. Okay? And so I refer one of the indigenous scholars from New Zealand called Linda Smith. It is an interesting book called Decolonizing Methodologies. She started with her career as indigenous feminist scholar, but her book as a book on indigenous methodologies, probably I enjoy reading that. She says the term research linked to European imperialism and colonization, colonialism, word research is probably one of the dirtiest words in the indigenous world vocabulary. Okay? Imperialism has been perpetuated through the ways in which knowledge about indigenous people was collected, classified, then presented in various ways back to the West, and then through the eyes of West back to those who have been colonized. They came, initial colonial anthropologists, missionaries, those who have written, and then after independence, our nationalist scholars, those who have written, anthropologists and sociologists about the tribes. They looked at from their own lenses and they framed what tribe is or who the tribe is, and they went back to the West, and from there they came back to tell the tribes that you are primitive, you are backward, you are uncivilized, and you are barbarous. And we accepted it. And that is why I think this tribal chief from Attapadi questioned that what right the Tata Institute of Social Sciences has to give PhD degree to you. Ideally, the community should have that right. I think community is the greatest university to award PhD, if at all they have to award PhD. I think they have more ethical and moral right over the PhD on their life. Because the colonial influences have generally failed to respect indigenous knowledge. And this through colonization, Western knowledge system depicted their epistemologies, that is the knowledge system. And the Western epistemologies or the knowledge system imposed on the indigenous knowledge system, which destroyed or demolished. And that legitimized the Western knowledge system and illegitimized the traditional or indigenous knowledge system. This also got transmitted through the legal processes, the government processes, academic channels, like places like us here, the kind of literature we are taught, the kind of research methodologies we are asked to use, which promoted patriarchy, which promoted capitalism and ecologically destructive practices. And also this colonialism also constructed a hierarchy of superiority and inferiority knowledge, inferiority of knowledge, and thus a superior and inferior people around the world. The people who are in the West, global North, are superior than global South. Within global South, the people who have gone to the universities or are probably living in the cities and metros, probably they are superior than the people who are living in the remote tribal area or rural areas. And unfortunately, it missed to recognize and respect that interculturality. And so the question comes, we have to decolonize. We have to decolonize ourselves, our thought process, our knowledge system process, and then only we can think of changing our practice. And so there is a lot of debate now, recently, debate around the epistemic diversity. There is so much of knowledge systems available in the communities. Probably they have people have never gone to the schools, universities, but they have so much of knowledge. Just being they have merely not being studying or writing in terms of books, articles, we have derecognized, or we have what it is called epistemic injustice or epistemicide. We have ignored their knowledge system, we have ignored their experiences, okay, and which leads to, without recognizing or ignoring all this knowledge system, the diversity of knowledge system, we are leading to the epistemic injustice. And that also leads to hermeneutics injustice. Hermeneutic injustice is basically lived experiences. Your lived experiences, my lived experiences might be different. But I justify that whatever I experience is the truth. Whatever you experience is not the truth. Because you have never studied, you have never followed the scientific temperament and the whole scientific processes, and so your experiences cannot be justified. You cannot explain. Our science cannot prove. So it cannot be accepted. Okay, so there is a lot of debate around this epistemic diversity or epistemic justice. Epistemic justice tries to bring in the different knowledge systems, respect their experiences, and make it part of their knowledge system, or try to integrate with the knowledge system which are available in the society and recognize with that emerging the different practices. And so that leads to structural or systemic injustices. There are many problems. Like in SDGs, many of the issues are around services, access to basic services. But there are many services are systemically who are denying or depriving certain communities. Just last Saturday, Sunday, I was visiting a village in Maharashtra. I went to a village where a particular industry has provided CSR activities, implemented certain things. But they have implemented in the village which is recognized revenue village. But there are many people who are living in the hamlets which are not in the land is not revenue village or revenue land. These are all private land. And so by virtue of being living in away from this main revenue village, they cannot access to any of the public services, either it is school, road, drinking water. So what does it mean? And probably most of the time, the people who are living in the revenue village who are economically and politically more powerful than the people living in the hamlets. And so the people who are rich or powerful can access to the resources, but the people who are in the periphery, like the center periphery debate, the people who are in the periphery, they are always in the margin to receive these services. Just you see who is right, who is wrong. Can you tell me who is right? Who is right? The person on left or right? Both are right? So what does it mean? It depends on the position or the locality or locale where one stands. Both are right. It is 6, it is 9. But one who stands on the left sees that it is 6. The person on the right says that it is 9. So positionality or the location of the person is very, very important. And so that knowledge system or the epistemology is the same thing. If I stand here, I get one particular view. Okay, you do not get to see the view of the whole hall. So since I am standing here, I can see the whole gathering or audience. But sitting here, you cannot see. You cannot see except me, nobody, you cannot see anyone behind. Or probably people living last row, probably you can see only the head behind and see me. So the location becomes very, very important. Where do we stand? And that's from there we draw our lenses of the perspective. Okay? And so whole articulation from the location supposedly having a degree of authenticity because of its location or the position. Okay, so the location is influence or the confluence of time, place and the person. Now I am here because me, the time, and in Madras School of Social Work. This is very important. By evening I am not here, I am back in Bombay. So my reality changes. I may not be talking about the thing what you will be talking here, I will be talking something else tomorrow. I'll be busy with something else. So whatever we discuss today, the time, place, and the people we are and deliberating, that is very crucial today. Tomorrow, day after tomorrow, probably we will engage something else. So the perspective is very much contextualized. So that's why I was saying Mary Richmond had started working with individuals in a particular context. And so we have to contextualize in our context. We are in India. We are in Tamil Nadu. Some of us are in city in Chennai, some of us are in the remote southern part of Tamil Nadu. Our reality are not the same. Okay, and so there is no absoluteness. It is based on relativeness. All of us have the relative experiences, relativity of our own reality. So it is not necessarily that it has to be universal. Whatever we talk, whatever practice we come up with cannot be universal because it is based on context. Each context gives us different kind of reality. So it is very important for us to contextualize social work. And then so today if you look at the literature, what are the terminologies you find? I have tried to list some of those words here. Ecological framework, strength-based framework, evidence-based social work, decolonizing social work, critical social work, anti-oppressive social work, feminist social work, in this we are calling it women-centered social work, indigenous social work or culturally competent social work, Sometimes we call it in TISS, we call it anti-caste or Dalit social work, and tribe center or tribal social work. We have in TISS, we have both women-centered social work and Dalit and tribal-centered social work. Now, these are all some of the literature globally available, which means people have started questioning. The alternative epistemologies have started to look at that we cannot or need not go by that universal epistemologies. Okay, so I like to draw SDGs I have referred. Another important documents I would like to just draw or refer, the People's Global Summit 2022. I think that also refers some of the values or the principles like when we read, it is this concept drawn from Latin America and Caribbean island, which talks about love and care for people and the planet, responsibilities and holistic rights. So the whole approach of development has to be around love and care for people and the planet, and responsibilities and the holistic rights, respect, dignity, harmony and social justice, diversity, belonging, reciprocity and equity. Ubuntu we know, I exist because you exist. Okay, and so togetherness, accountability, community, solidarity, equity, inclusion and collaborations. I think these are very important for us. Even the IFSW, International Federation of Social Workers, also is drawing when we were as part of this international social work for this year, this concept that how we should draw from the values of some of the indigenous knowledge systems. It is basically where we were a Spanish translation, which is around the indigenous philosophical principle and worldview, rooted in the human being as part of natural social environment. Its goals are the satisfaction of needs, the achievement of a dignified quality of life and death, to love and to be loved, healthy flourishing of all in peace and harmony with nature, and indefinite perpetuation of human culture. And it draws from these principles, that is relationality, reciprocity, correspondence and complementarity. And so Aramath is another model, which is the Aramath is the Ethiopian word which means well-being. Today we are working in one of the projects around the well-being based on biodiversity and indigenous knowledge in 25 countries. In India we are working on this, trying to document the indigenous knowledge system around the biodiversity and well-being. People have been living for generations, ages. Government hasn't reached there, state hasn't reached there, but people have been surviving. We have to know what are those knowledge systems which has helped them to survive. Okay, so well-being around Aramath, and its principle is right to self-determination, decolonizing methodology and indigenous perspective. In the same way, I think here also in India we have many such, thank you, many such models. I was telling Sanjay here, Dr. Sanjay is here. Sanjay, maybe you can show your face to the people. Dr. Bimal is there. I think these two, I would say, are two living examples of transformative social change and social justice. They are going to present, so I do not like to talk about them, but they are the living examples about their whole journey where they are engaging in social transformation and social justice with regard to communities which are historically and structurally marginalized and they have been kept on the margin. Okay, and so it is very important for us. I would like to end with the quotation from Lina Dominelli. The professionalization of social work needs to engage with neocoloniality mentality, an approach to collaborations that cross national and disciplinary borders, develop new theories and innovative forms of practice and research, and influence policymakers at local, national and global level. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We can move on to the question answer session now.
learned a lot from your presentation, sir, first. And my question is, there is huge gap between rich and poor people in India. Though we are moving towards Viksit Bharat, government is moving towards India being developed nation by 2047. I want to, my humble request is, please give your perspectives on how to reduce the gap between rich and poor in Indian context, especially with regard to their economic conditions and social conditions, sir.
Yeah, thank you for the compliment. Yeah, very important questions. Very important question. When the India aiming for its vision 2047, we have also initiated the how tribal community look at for their development by 2047. Okay. Now, why should somebody decide what the tribals or women or the children or certain communities should be like? I think it is their life, their development. They know better about their own life. Can we engage them? Can we make them participate to have their own vision of 2047? Instead of me imposing on them or we imposing them that what should be their vision, can we take them along and say that what should be your vision for 2047? I think once we have been able to do that, I'm sure that will be more sustainable transformation.
Thank you, sir.
I have completed my presentation a bit early, leaving that time that we can have some discussions.
Hi, Doctor. I have a query. While we conduct the researches on everyday life of indigenous population of today, it become an article for the today, while the literature might change tomorrow. How do you propose a newer methodology?
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say, that the context keeps on changing. Context doesn't remain same. And so the solution, what we have found for today, may not be the solution for tomorrow. So we have to keep changing, and that's why the whole argument is universalizing everything as a single truth probably may not be able to give solution to all our problems. And so we have to the context specific solutions. Okay, so the solution for today may not be solution for tomorrow. With the time, probably the situation has changed and the problem might change. The requirements might change. Like today, the rural communities or the tribal community or any poor people think that no, they are rural, poor, marginalized, so they should be living the way they have been living. I think with the time, they also have their aspirations. So today, probably they are living in a certain way, but tomorrow they may not have the same aspiration. They might have different aspirations. So whatever we find relevant today for them may not be relevant tomorrow. Their aspiration might change and the reality might change. Because every village is changing, every reality is changing. And so aspirations of the people, how they perceive about their development, about their own welfare, that will change. So the crux of the centrality of whole of my argument is that we have to see their reality from their lenses and understand what is the reality, and probably we can come up with what would be the solution or try to understand that reality. Then we getting trained for a particular lenses and try to understand in that lens and define that this glass is either half empty or half full. Or no? It is very subjective. Unfortunately, I have to leave today. I would have loved to stay here for some more time and continue interacting with you all. But it is my honor to be invited and be here and meet some of my old friends and also connect with new people because networking partnership is very essential. So we need to connect, we need to meet people, and we have to build in new partnership, new alliances if we want to look for any transformative change. Thank you. I think there is some question.
I request you to quote two case studies where whatever the modern development we are talking about become a curse for the community, in the indigenous community, and also which acted as a best opportunity for them to go to the next level. Two cases across in your work.
Come again. I could not.
Two cases
Okay.
where you can, one is about the positive impact of the development projects into the indigenous community, and also
Okay.
which acted as a negative aspect for them.
Okay. Now let me start with the negative thing. Now, in the name of development, now whole of the tribal areas are developed in terms of infrastructure, school building, and everything. After this tsunami in Kerala, probably none of you have spent time or visited the villages. The amount of walk I have done in Kotnad Taluka of Alapura. I walked almost every day 10 kilometers to go through the villages. Now when we see, and after that I visited Attapadi, Wayanad. After the flood, the government constructed new houses for the Panyas there. I'm sure some of you are from Kerala. So, okay. So what happened? A beautiful house, painted everything, but none of the Panyas went back to that house. They didn't want to go back. Why? No, the color they have painted is not going with their culture. The kind of structure or the design they have made the houses is not as per their daily practices. They didn't want to stay there. So it is utter failure. Okay. We have large projects, industries, dams, highways you can think of. Now, people's tribal development is synonymous to displacement, or national development is synonymous to displacement of the tribals. It looks like that. So that is one of the example with regard to negative. Positive question or positive example, I would say that many of the communities still have good practices, institutions, traditions, and knowledge system. Like the example I gave, the Kachal Island in Andaman Nicobar Island. Okay, many of the community, I will give you the recent example. I visited another village where they had a temple, very old temple. They did not have school. Now all the villagers, they talked about, we don't have school here, and to go to the city it is again 50-60 kilometers, and we need to have, some people, the elders, they say no, we need to have a school, and to have a school they need certain amount of land. We cannot have small piece of land and build the house. So all together they decided to take out that temple and build in another place in the middle of the village. Can you touch temple today in our country? We cannot touch a brick. But they decided to remove that temple from that place and reconstruct it collectively in another place in the middle of the village, and they built school building in that place. What an amazing experience, amazing story, very powerful story I consider. So these are all some of the wisdom, their own wisdom. Probably the typical government officers would have thought of something different to give solution for the education. But within the villages, there is no conflict because everybody did it together, collectively. So collective wisdom and collective decision and collective work. And the ownership came in, no conflict. Children are studying in that beautiful school. And the temple is also there in the village now. So both the purposes are served. I can give you many examples.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, participants. I would now like to request Ms. Seema Sunny, Assistant Professor, Department of Social Work, to hand over the memento to Dr. Bipin Jojo as a token of gratitude and love from Madras School of Social Work. Thank you, ma'am. We are nearing the end of the session, and I invite Ms. Sarulata from final year MSW to propose the vote of thanks.
I stand before you today to propose a vote of thanks as we have come close to the end of this plenary session on social work for sustainable transformative change and social justice, led by Dr. Bipin Jojo, Dean, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. We are truly honored to have had this opportunity to learn from your wisdom and experience, sir. Throughout this session, Sir has emphasized the crucial role of contextualizing social work in fostering sustainable transformative change and social justice, and this has left a great impact on the participants. On behalf of Madras School of Social Work, I extend a heartfelt thanks to Dr. Bipin Jojo for gracing us with his presence and sharing his invaluable knowledge. We also appreciate the active participation and contribution of all the participants. I would also like to express our gratitude to the coordinators of this session for the smooth conduct of the program. Let us carry forward the spirit of this session as we continue our journey towards a more just and equitable society. Thank you.
The post-lunch session is a panel discussion on social justice. We have now come to an end to the forenoon sessions. The moderator for the next session would be Dr. Pavananthi Vembulu, Director, Social Justice and Equity, with a distinguished panel of 4 members, including Dr. Sanjay, Dr. S. Lalita, Dr. Vimal Kumar, and Ms. G. Chamki Raj. We request all the participants to move to the wisdom tree where the lunch will be provided. And please be back by 2 p.m. for the panel discussion in the auditorium. Thank you.
Dear participants, an announcement. We have the book of abstracts has been printed, but it is a black and white copy. If you need it, you can always place orders in the registration desk, and that copy will cost you 385 rupees. So if anyone needs it, you can do it, or you can scan this QR code, and you can also have a soft copy as well. Thank you.